Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, AlbyMTG, and today we'll be taking a look at all of the amazing spoiler cards that we got for Battlebond here after day 1 of spoiler season. We are here on Mythic Spoiler. Mythic Spoiler is a fantastic website to go to for all of your spoiler needs. If we go ahead and click newest spoilers here, you can see that they have everything up to date here. So if we go to May 21st, which is today, we can go ahead and see all the new Battlebond spoilers. However, if we wanted to go down here, you can see May 18th, some more Battlebond spoilers, as well as the Global Series cards. May 10th, we got some Core 2010 spoilers. May 6th, I said Core 2010 there. I meant to say Core 2019, and then some more Core 2019 spoilers in here too. So Mythic Spoiler is an absolutely fantastic website to keep up to date with all of your spoiler needs, but for this time we're going to be looking solely at the Battlebond page, and we now know 34 of the 254 cards that are currently in the set, and we'll go ahead and just take a look at them here. Of course, we're not going to spend too much time on the commons and uncommons that are here outside of just taking a look at the new mechanics. The first new mechanic is the assist mechanic, which you can see here on a card like Fan Favorite. Assist reads, another player can pay up to X of this spell's cost, X being X ranging, depending on the type of card. For here, Fan Favorite says 3. There's another card that was printed that says 2. So whatever it is, you can only pay for the generic mana. So if you had if you wanted to cast this with the help of your opponent, or not necessarily with the help of your opponent, but maybe with the help of your two-headed giant teammate, you could pay for the black, and then your teammate could pay for up to 3 of the colorless involved. But you would still have to pay for the black. Your teammate couldn't pay for the colored mana involved. Outside of that, there is the partner with mechanic. We'll go ahead and take a look here at Soulblade Corruptor, which is an uncommon that has partner. And it has partner with Soulblade Renewer, so whenever this creature enters the battlefield, the target player may put Soulblade Renewer into their hand from their library, then shuffle. So it's a nice way to get the card that partners with the card that you've just played. And you can see here Soulblade Renewer. We'll go ahead and take a look at Soulblade Renewer quickly. And you can see this one is fairly simple. It's not necessarily the best card, but because of it having partner, it is quite better. You can see here when it enters the battlefield, support 2, which support is the other returning mechanic here. Support was originally from Oath of the Gatewatch, and you can see when it enters the battlefield, support 2, meaning put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures, and so that works really well with the Soulblade Corruptor that partners here, because she says whenever a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it attacks one of your opponents, that creature gains Death Touch until end of turn. So the other card, the Renewer, can put +1/+1 counters on your creatures, and then when they attack, because they have +1/+1 counters, the Soulblade Corruptor will give them Death Touch. So they work very nicely, and that's basically what we're seeing with all of the partner cards, is that they work very, very well together. We'll go ahead and take a look here at kind of the big ones that were spoiled today. The Manosaurus as well as Tolarian Community College worked together on their preview videos, and they showed us Rowan Kenrith as well as Will Kenrith, which are some planeswalkers, +2, so 6 mana for a legendary planeswalker. It has partner with Will Kenrith, and it can be your commander. So it has a +2 during target player's next turn. Each creature that player controls attacks if able. Deals -2, deals 3 damage to each tapped creature target player controls. And then -8, target player gets an emblem with whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So kind of what I'm seeing here is that if you can go ahead and find a way for to protect Rowan Kenrith, you can +2, make all your opponents attack. Of course, they have to tap in order to attack, and then it'll deal 3 damage to each tapped creature then with the -2 ability. But she also works very well with her other part, which is Will Kenrith. Will Kenrith being 4 colors and 2 blue for a 4 loyalty planeswalker, +2 until your next turn. Up to 2 target creatures, each have base power and toughness. Have base power and toughness 0/3 and lose all abilities. I was reading this text instead of the text on the card, and over here it just says have base power and toughness and lose all abilities. It didn't say what the base power and toughness was, so I got kind of tripped up there. But it is base power and toughness of 0/3. Then the -2 is target player draws 2 cards, and 2 cards until your next turn. Instant, sorcery, and planeswalker spells that player casts cost 2 less to cast. And then the final is a -8. Target player gets an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. Copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So these cards work very strongly together. They're kind of awkward due to the fact that they are each 6 mana. This works very well in the two-headed giant Battlebond format, where you can have one person play Rowan Kenrith, and then search your library. Your teammate can search their library then for, say, Will Kenrith, and then you could bring them both out on the same turn. That would be really strong. However, in terms of commander, you could play these two as your commander together, but then it gets kind of awkward of which one do you play first. Do you play Will Kenrith first, or do you play Rowan Kenrith first? Is there always a correct answer on which one to play first, or is that sometimes that you should play Rowan first, sometimes you should play Will first? It's kind of an interesting little debate here, and in terms of there are a lot of really strong commanders, so I don't know if I per se like these two very much in commander. I could be wrong though. Be sure to let me know down below in the comments if you are excited for Will and Rowan for commander purposes, but I think in terms of the draft format they'll be very strong, but I'm not overly impressed in terms of commander. One card that I think could be very strong for commander here is Play of the Game. It has the assist mechanic that we talked about, where another player can pay up to X colorless, in this case 6 colorless, of this spell's cost, and then it says exile all non-land permanents. So in a game of commander, you can go ahead and say, hey, look, I only have 4 mana, but I want to clear the board. You know, Timmy, do you want to clear this board too? And then Timmy could say, yeah, and then you guys could work together to clear the board instead of just needing to have the board wipe yourself. So I think that's very cool for commander. I think that'll be a great card. Notably, there were some other partners that were revealed today. We have things like Virus the Veiled that partners with Gorm the Great. These ones aren't necessarily the best. They're pretty good, but I'm not overly impressed with them. Pure Imaginative Rascal and Toothy we already talked about here on the channel when we discussed Announcement Day. Pure's Whim is kind of an interesting one. If you remember the voting mechanic that we had before in the conspiracy sets, Pure's Whim kind of reminds me of that. It says for each player choose friend or foe. Each friend searches their library for a land card, puts it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffles their library. Each foe sacrifices an artifact or enchantment they control. So it kind of reminds me of the voting mechanic. It's not necessarily the same as the voting mechanic, but it definitely reminds me of that, and I can see that they got the inspiration for this friend or foe choice from what they had previously done with the voting mechanic in the previous 2 commander sets. Of course, we do have some reasonable reprints that we're seeing here as well in terms of commons, like Peregrine Drake is being reprinted, Fertile Ground is being reprinted, Daggerdrome Imp, Doom Traveler, Doom Dissenter, Augur Spree. These are all Centaur Healer. Cards like this, these are all just cards that have been printed before. They're nothing special. Expedition Raptor has been printed before. And I think I'm missing like one more down here. Eager Construct has been printed before, so like those cards aren't anything special. We haven't really seen any value in terms of the common and uncommon slots quite yet. All of the value we've really seen so far is at the rare and mythic spot. The rare spot being lands that I'm expecting to be actually worth quite a bit of money in terms of finance. We'll look at Sea of Clouds here. This one being the blue-white land here, and it says it enters the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. In most commander games, as long as you're in a 3-player pot or higher, this is essentially just a dual land for you that you can't search, because it does have just the land type. It's not land, plains, island. It's just simply a land, but for commander, that's still absolutely perfect. If we go back here, we can see that they are all in the friendly colors: the green, white, black, red, blue, black, white, blue, and green, red. So all of the allied colors here you can see for these 5 lands that are printed here. And then the big thing that most people want to talk about is doubling season. I'm going to hold off just a second here on those. We'll look at these other 2 mythics here really quickly. I'm not overly impressed by either of them. First up is Archfiend of Despair. For 6 black, you get a flying creature that says your opponents can't gain life at the beginning of each end step. Each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. So it is kind of a cool card. I wish it had the assist mechanic. If this card had the assist mechanic, it would be much, much better. Maybe it's just too strong with the assist mechanic. It does seem like it'll be quite strong in draft. However, needing 8 mana could end up being not the best. I'm not sure how this format will end up playing out, whether it's going to be a very fast format in terms of a two-headed giant, or whether things will be nice and slow because of it being two-headed giant. And so I think how good Archfiend of Despair is really going to vary depending on how slow or how fast the format ends up being for two-headed giant. And then the other mythic we saw here in black was Amazing Comeback. It's 3 colorless and a black for an instant. If you and your partner would lose the game this turn, instead draw 7 cards and your life total becomes 1, exile Amazing Comeback. So I'm not sure if this ends up doing anything outside of this format. It says if you and your partner would lose the game this turn. I don't know if you need a partner for this card to be cast. I kind of think you do. It seems not the best. In my head, I was thinking like maybe something in Legacy, maybe something in Vintage, because these cards will all be legal in Legacy and Vintage. So I was thinking like maybe there's something in there, but because it says if you and your partner would lose the game, I don't know if it's only going to matter in Two-Headed Giant. It seems like it'll be fairly strong in in Two-Headed Giant. Like, it might save you a turn. You get to draw 7 cards, which is nice. And if you're late enough in the game, you can use those 7 cards to kind of rebuild your board state. It does make your life total become 1, so at least it gives you a chance of possibly saving yourself, which I think is super, super strong, and I can understand why this card is a mythic. But outside of the draft format, this doesn't really do anything unless you play Two-Headed Giant on a regular basis. This doesn't really do anything in terms of those. So finally, we'll end here on Doubling Season. This is the card that a lot of people were talking about, because this card, if you guys did not know, is like $70 right now, and it's being reprinted in the set, which is absolutely fantastic. This is a great, great reprint to see. I do like the fact that they're using these kind of supplemental products, things like the Conspiracy Draft sets, as well as this Battlebond set, to put a little bit of value in them. It doesn't look like we're going to see a ton of value in this set. I'm slightly pessimistic, but we still have yet to see the uncommons. In things like Conspiracy, there was cards like Serum Visions, Ghostly Prison, Beast Within, and just some other really strong uncommons. So it wouldn't surprise me if we end up seeing some decent uncommons here in the set. But in terms of value right now, we're basically looking at Doubling Season being where most of the value is. Play of the game, I'm expecting to be a reasonable amount of money, just because I think it's strong in Commander. I don't really play a ton of Commander, so you Commander players will have to let me know down low in the comments if this does seem like a powerful effect in Commander. From what I know about Commander, it seems like it would be. And then also, I believe there's quite a bit of value in terms of the land cycle here, the Bountiful Promenade, the Spire Garden, Sea of Clouds, Morphic Pool, and Luxury Suite. I'm expecting those 5 to also, be a reasonable value. But outside of that, after day 1 of spoilers, that's really the only value that we're kind of seeing is Doubling Season, and those maybe Will Kennerith and Rowan Kennerith will end up being worth something. I kind of doubt it. They seem like they might be like $5 to $8 is where I would assume. I don't think they're going to be quite as popular as Wizards of the Coast thinks that they'll be. But yeah, I think it's still a good set. It looks promising after day 1. This is, of course, just day 1 of spoilers, so there is plenty more cards to be shown here. Like I said, it shows us here that we are on 34 of 254, so we still have 220 cards left in this set that we could still be very impressed with the remaining 220 cards. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I wasn't really hyped up for Battlebond beforehand. I think I said that here on the channel. I just wasn't overly excited about it, but after day 1, I'm reasonably excited now. I think I am willing to I mean, I was going to try it at least once, but I think I might actually be willing to give this a try more than once now after looking at it a little bit. I like the mechanics. The partner with mechanic seems cool. The assist mechanic seems cool. I kind of like them bringing back support. There wasn't really any good support cards printed in Oath of the Gatewatch that we would be excited for a reprint for, but I do like the inclusion of that mechanic. It seems quite like a perfect fit in this kind of a format, and I think that this seems sort of fun. We're also seeing here, you can see Rushblade Commander is a black and a red for a 2/2 warriors your team controls have haste. So there is kind of like a warrior sub theme that we're seeing starting to form a little bit here. Soaring Show Off is a bird warrior. This thing is an Azra warrior. There were some other warriors in here. This thing's a human warrior. There was just some other just random warrior cards, giant warrior over here. So I do kind of like that the warrior matters thing exists as well as part of a mechanic, or at least kind of like the main theme for some colors in the set. Warriors are a tribe that doesn't necessarily get a ton of cards, but there are a quite large amount of warriors that are pretty strong, and this could lead to maybe some warrior tribal commander decks, or possibly even some warrior tribal just casual decks, maybe even some Canadian Highlander decks. It'd be kind of cool to see if a warrior tribal deck could exist in that format as well. So this has been day one of the Battlebond spoilers. Go ahead and let me know down below in the comments. Are you guys excited for these? Do any of these stick out to you as something that you need to pick up? For me, I'm just kind of looking at these lands in terms of monetary value, and then I love the choice of reprinting Doubling Season. I think that that's absolutely fantastic. Well done, Wizards, picking a card that definitely needed a reprint. $70 for Doubling Season is quite expensive, and so I'm quite happy to see it reprinted. The only awkward situation I'm thinking about is, like, if you and your teammate go to draft, which one of you gets the Doubling Season? That's going to be kind of the awkward part. Like, if one of you plays the Doubling Season in your deck for some reason, but then the other person was the one that drafted it, like, it gets kind of weird over which one of you's walking home with your $50 to $70 bill there, in terms of Doubling Season. But aside from that, it looks like it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm actually quite excited. Seems like a reasonable set. So go ahead, let me know down below in the comments below what are your opinions regarding Battlebond, and I will see you guys here tomorrow for yet another Magic the Gathering video.